All right, guys, we're on the live. How many do I got in right now? Five of you? Yes. All right, we're going to be talking about this medical coding certification exams, either if you're going through HEMA or AAPC. A lot of this information is interchangeable and can work for both, for sure. This is one of my ICD books where I went in and added more information into the anatomy section. I really like to make sure we try to keep everything in the CPT book, since 100 of the questions on the AAPC exam, that is 150 questions long, but 100 of them are in the CPT book. I like to keep all that information in there. But if you have time and you really want to learn some anatomy, then you can Google these pictures, do a reverse picture search, and then you can add in tons of information. I always like to recommend doing different colors for different things so that it pops out at you. But there's just so much that you can add in your spare time when you're just watching a movie with the kids, or hanging out in the kitchen on the counter in between stirring noodles and stuff. I just sort of added in lots of information, just as good practice as information that would have been helpful for things, especially for areas that I didn't know or understand. I really liked adding in some of this stuff, especially when I was in a funk and was really just tired of learning my guidelines and doing anything coding related. This was helpful because I called it coloring, so it kind of gave me a break from trying to memorize one more thing. I would just Google the mouth, common vocabulary, prefixes, suffixes, reverse search the pictures and add in AKA terms for things. Thank you, Jess. This helped me get over, sometimes you get discouraged and you just don't want to learn one more thing, but just drawing and coloring really seemed to, it let me have a break from learning some guidelines and practicing my coding, but I was still really productive. By the end of this, all these pages, look how productive I was. I mean, it was a lot of information. I was still productive even though I had my brain shut off and wasn't learning really anything, one more thing. But then when I look back at it, I didn't feel so defeated because I just stopped everything. I had accomplished something. So anyway, just one of those things that I like to suggest when you just can't take any more this week and you still want to look back at your week and not feel so defeated, but that you could just write information down. It's just as a writing thing that was not learning, just coloring is what I called it, because it's just body parts. Thanks, Ness. All the flowers and the info from that stuff will go into a fund where people can get copies of my notes for free if they're in need. So any of those little flowery things and little surprises will definitely help somebody else in need. that's what I'm going to do with the Creator Fund money. So awesome. All right, hopefully everybody's here. I wanted to go in on, we've got some people coming up with their exam taking is going to happen this weekend or next weekend, and I wanted to make sure that we went over the information that has been shared with me of the recent people who have taken their CPC exam or any other exam and have notified me what is on their exam. I do have it separated out by the version of the exam based on AAPC. They have version A, B, C, and D out, and I wanted to go over what was on those real quick. Let's see if this will work. Here we go. Yeah. Oops. So we'll go over what people have said was on their exam version A real quick first. Some of the vocabulary terms have been this bone called the sesamoid bone. It is in the big toe, foot area. Remember where that is. Usually it's the stress fracture from walking. You'll see a lot of people in those walking black boots. It's usually because they broke their sesamoid bone. Yeah. There's also a Medicare question always. Usually it's the question, which part of Medicare covers nursing facilities? And another one that we get quite often is which one cover doctor services. So know that nursing facilities and which ones are covered with doctor visits. If you can't keep straight, or if you're like me and just a terrible test taker and you end up being like a deer in headlights and can't remember your name and date of birth during an exam, even though you know all this information, I recommend writing anything like your Medicare guidelines, anything that is related to any of the laws, guidelines, what's considered outpatient services, what does OPPS stand for. I recommend writing it all before your E&M in your CPT book. You are welcome to write any information you want in your CPT book before your exam. You are welcome to write down your definitions or words. You just need to be sure you are keeping them organized so you know where to find stuff. This is not a complete list of what I would write in the book if I was taking the exam again, but you get an idea of what you would do. Be sure and separate ideas, certain categories by different colors so things pop out at you, so it's not just one big blue blob of information that you need to decipher. You need to be able to find this information really super quick. So as you're writing anything like Medicare Part A covers this, Medicare Part B covers this, write it out in different colors so you can find it. And I recommend writing even the stuff that you know by heart, because the exam is super stressful and they're throwing everything at you. Anything and everything that is related to billing and coding at you at one time. And it's a very stressful exam. You put a lot of money into this, and sometimes you get exam takers block. And just having the information there so you can just take a quick glance and verify, yep, that's it, will give you a lot of confidence to move on to the next answer and keep going. Be sure you know what the venous valve is for. That's not cardiology. What that is a muscle. That's tightening and releasing of muscles. Be sure you know that. Don't let them confuse you. This thrombophlebitis, whatever. I'm not very good at pronouncing a lot of these words. I did not learn phonics in school. I am one of those people that needs to be able to say it, learn it, and pronounce it by sight of the word, not by vocalizing each part of the word. So unfortunately I can't say half these words, but this inflammation of the veins, Be sure you know what this thromboitis is. I've almost got it. I know I don't have the middle part, but be sure you know what these are. There are two parts to this. And they can form some veins, and they can form some, not form veins, but the veins can form some blood clots. So be sure you know that. Be sure you know your sepsis guidelines. There are two types of sepsis that you need to make sure you know to categorize in. The ones without organ dysfunction, failure, and the ones that have sepsis, but their organs are fine. So that's usually the sepsis, like a superficial skin sepsis, and then you've got the red streak running up the arm or wherever the wound is. That's a sepsis infection, but it hasn't hit an organ yet. Once it hits an organ, then you've got to know another bag of issues. Sepsis, not focused, needs to be categorized in those two areas first. Once you get into those two areas, if you have just plain sepsis, it has one diagnosis code. If you have dysfunction, it may have two diagnosis codes. If you actually have organ failure, you may end up with three diagnosis codes. If you go on and write the examples that I have provided in my one-sheeter sepsis guideline sheet to everybody, go on and go to the A41.9 in your ICD-10. Go on and write those three examples down of how you code them, exactly like I've got on my sheet. You should do fine for that guideline on the exam. Be sure you know what anonyms or abbreviation for certain words are, and be sure you know where the list is in the CPT book and where to find it during your exam. I have many people don't remember during their exam that the last page, or the back cover actually, of their CPT book, if you have it from the AMA, in my version, sorry about my camera, I'll fix it in just a sec, has a huge list of abbreviated words and terms back here, and they're in alphabetical order, so you don't have to remember which section they're in with a lot of vocabulary that we put in the CPT book. You don't need to know if it's cardiology or what have you. But one thing you do need to know too back here that some people don't notice, don't take a quickie look at it. Sometimes they're giving you two different definitions. So like for IVC can mean intravenous whatever that is, graphy, and then there's a comma. Then IVC can also mean inferior vena cava. So there's two different meanings here. Just because you bereave the first words doesn't mean that's exactly what they have. They have two definitions on some of these. So be sure you know where this section is, and be sure you know you can add to it. If you've got another abbreviation that isn't here that you run across in your coloring days, there are ways you can just write another A1 here. You can fill in these white spaces with a few more. Just keep it organized. Keep all the A's with the A's, all the B's with the B's, C's with the C's if you can. And then also, if you see a comma in the middle of some of this stuff, sorry, I'm reading as I'm going, then there might be an alternate definition added in there, and there might be two definitions here for you. So that's super helpful in case the first definition isn't exactly, or one of the answers. Don't give up. Look again and make sure there isn't a different definition there, because they did provide two for a couple of them. So that's pretty cool and handy dandy. So ARDS is respiratory distress syndrome. Be sure you know what ABNs are for, who fills them out, only Medicare patients. Why is that? What's the percentage that they have to pay? And that kind of information about ABNs. Again, write that information in the front of the book if you don't already have it. Be sure you know what the phalanx is. It's on the exam A and C for AAPC. They want to make sure you know that is the hand bones. Be sure you know how to code a triple pregnancy, even a twin pregnancy. Be sure you know that there's a 7th character that will go along with the fetus number right there. So if there's 3 babies, you know your 7th character will be a 3. There's also an additional code for multiple pregnancies that will go in the series of an O30 code will go here with the multiple gestation. And I have a couple of examples here of how you would code a multiple pregnancy if you want to screenshot these real quick. Be sure you know how to do multiple guidelines at once. You know you have guidelines for HIV, right? And for HIV and AIDS, you have guidelines for that, but you also have guidelines for injuries. What if an HIV patient gets an injury? What do you code first? Be sure you know how to combine codes like that. If you happen to have, this is an example, you can screenshot this too, and add it to your book, add it to the injury codes, and also add it to your HIV codes. You can write in your ICD-10 book too and add those examples there too. So if you happen to have an HIV patient who comes into the ER or is seen by his PCP for a sprained ankle, the sprained ankle injury is what you code first, then you code the HIV status. Same thing if you have a pregnancy patient who has HIV, but they're seeing their HIV doctor, they'll get their HIV first, and then the OB is coded second. If they are seeing their OB for their pregnancy, then you code their pregnancy first. A lot of the guidelines are like that. Some of the differences are in cancer, that you might have some reverse issues that way. And speaking of cancer, be sure you know about metastasized, what's going on with cancers, how to code those. If we have a patient who has been admitted for drainage of a malignant metastasized cancer of her ovary, the metastatic is your key word to let you know that that patient is being seen for their secondary cancer site. Their primary cancer may be somewhere else, like the brain, wherever that is, but you need to make sure that you can't, if they're being seen for mets and being treated for an issue due to their metastasized, you code that cancer that they're being seen for first, even if it's their metastasized one first. Then you do their primary. We had a HitPix code of this S code for glucose monitor rental. There's 2 codes related to this area. Be sure you know where to find your HitPix codes for that particular one. This one is all the information I have on exam B. So Jessica should be listening and writing down for sure. This one had a lot of urethra, urinary, tons of information in the urinary system. They wanted to know what is the result of a urethral blockage, and the information can be found in the study guidebook, is what the person told me who handed me this information. So in the study guide, it says that you can get a hydroureter, you can get hydronephoresis, this is enlargement of the kidneys, you can get a hydrocele, or even some crystallization and stuff like that into the ureters. Be sure you have all these written down underneath a heading of urethral blockage. You know a little bit about each one. She said there was also some split and full thickness graft information that she needed to know. So I have listed out the definitions for all grafting. So if you are going to get a graft from the patient to move to another spot on their own body, it's called the autograft. So if you're going to get skin from another person and add it into the patient, it's an allograft. There's only 2-letter differences in those. So be sure when you're reading questions, you are paying attention, because they start out a graft, but there's 2 letters that make a difference here that tell you this is donated from somebody else. So I always thought of this as the LL, the 2 are legs. So those are legs of somebody else. So these represent a picture to me of somebody else walking to you and giving you their skin. So that's how I always remembered allograft was from somebody else. It has 2 legs in it. And then auto has a U in it, so that's from you. If you're the patient, that's your body part and they're putting your skin on you. So that's just how I did it. And then our X, oh, it's funny. X is from a piggy pig pig, so you're getting your skin from a pig to help you. They also have skin grafting from fish now. I need to look that up and see if that's still the same consideration as the X-Gen, or if they come up with a different word for that one. But so far, these are the 3 that are in our study guide from AAPC that they go after. I know they use fish scales now for a lot of this, but that's new technology. So maybe AAPC isn't up on that one yet. But anyway, I have listed out the differences between the split and the fullness grafts by CPT code and by location. So STSG is the split thickness, and here's the CPT codes by body part, and then the full thickness is here by the CPT code and the body parts, so that you have those. Super easier graph to see than just in the CPT book. Be sure you know how to code your CKD and kidney disease with hypertension questions. I put 3 examples here of how to code those properly, just to cover all the scenarios that I could find with hypertension in them, and how to code in what scenario. So hopefully that is helpful. I can screenshot that one. Let me see who's messaging. Are there going to be dosage calculations on the exam? Yep. Fetal weight. Be sure you know how to change grams into lbs and ounces. Somebody just asked me. So be sure for dosage calculations. It's not really a dosage, but it is a calculation you may end up having to do during your CPC exam. Be sure you know how to turn grams, because your CPT codes are listed for very premature babies in gram weight. So the CPC question is going to be telling you you have a newborn that weighs 1 pound, 3 ounces. Well, how many grams is that? You got to figure that out during your 90 seconds. You have to pick an answer for the test exam. So on that page, it's in the E&M section where the newborns are, where the very low birth weight is. You have some CPT codes that are in the E&M section in the front of the book that are listed as just grams. You need to make sure you have a conversion table on that page that will help you change ounces and pounds into grams. I see you, Jess. Be sure and let me know if y'all have any questions or if I'm moving way too fast. Modifiers that were on exam B are 53, 22, 52, and 59. So I wrote out the definitions of each one of these. You know, 53 can be used when a surgery is terminated, and usually it's because of either a risk to the patient or the patient requested it. Unusual procedure services for 22. 52 is reduced services, like mostly those are colonoscopies. They'll start the colonoscopy and can't get all the way through to the cecum. They stop somewhere. So when they stop a procedure, be sure you know the difference between that and the 53. Usually when a surgery is terminated, 53 means they will not be going back and doing it again. Usually the reduced services means we stopped because we couldn't go any further. We're going to reschedule and we're going to do the rest later. When they terminate something means that the patient is unstable and we can't finish the surgery, and we're not going to go back. We're done. We have terminated this. That's usually the difference. And then 59 is our lovely, most hated and feared modifier right there. I have some examples of how to use 59 appropriately according to AAPC. I have listed these examples here so that we can have that as a good screenshot too. I've also listed out the modifiers in different categories. Modifiers as pricing modifiers are these. Payment modifiers are these, and then location modifiers are these. I just like separating them out into different little areas too. Helps you remember more along the lines of what they are. Don't forget the front of your CPT cover book has the list of all your modifiers. Well, most of them, not all of them. Your HipPix book has all of them. If you run into something so strange like AA or HX or QY and you don't know what that is and they're telling you it's a modifier, well, it's in your HipPix book. Go look there. All the modifiers are there. This one is a really good short little reference page, so you don't have to go to open Appendix A. I also have a little cheat sheet that I like to put at the last page of the E&M section of a few of them that are most common during the CPC exam with just exactly what they mean. Super quick, in different colors so they pop out. So I'm not squinting at this front cover thing, but it's still super handy and helpful and easier to get to than Appendix A is, even with tabs. Appendix A is a pain. Another section on the exam B was incomplete uterine prolapse questions. I have some diagnosing tips here. The description of the prolapse in the exam or in the operating note can provide guidance to where you're going to be. There is all your uterine prolapse is around N81. They have the genital prolapse, which is the first degree. The second degree is the uterus dropping into the lower portion of the vagina. And then third degree is prolapse drops with the cervix to the vaginal opening. I have a clinical example here of how to code it and what was going on here and then here. So I have two of them. That are listed and how you would code those. This one was stress incontinence. that went along with the second degree of prolapse. And then this one was a surgery to repair the prolapse. Let me go yell at my kids real quick. I'll be right back. Doing the live, Mom. How are you doing? Oh, fine. Doing good. Ate a salad. You're still barbecue though. So good. Not a thing. Not a fan. Not regular like I'm supposed to be. I just run from one thing to another like a pretty little bird. And then, yeah. Gotta get motivated to get it done. The boy, he's been so funny. He's a sock hound. He's a sock hound. He has a favorite sock around here, and he holds it in his mouth and carries it around the house, and puts it in the air and plays with it. That's his little mouse. She's down there, sitting water out of that in his mouth. Funny. All right, I'm gonna fish my live. Whew, kids are wild tonight, y'all. My mom walked in too, so I had to say hello. All right, Connor, what's going on? We never put how many times, just that they had history of it. I have a question. If patients have COVID 3 or 4 times, no, just history of it. As far as I know, my drugs tabbed good. Yeah, not a lot of need to tab that HipHicks book. All your modifiers, since I was talking about that, are in the front and back covers of the HipHicks book. So all the modifiers are, ooh, if I can get this camera to go way up, are in these covers. If you have my version, there's all these modifiers, and then you go to the back cover and there's all those modifiers and their descriptions. Just a blue million of them. You have them for ambulances, have modifiers, anesthesia has modifiers, just a little bit of everything has modifiers for sure. I take the second half of mine tomorrow. First half was awful. Lots of medicine questions. Oh no. Yeah, Minnie, if you've got any information you can share with us too, I know it's late and you got to get to bed too, of what codes were on it or list of information, even if it's just a word like uterine prolapse or any HitPix information, or any CPT codes. Even if I just have the number, then I can figure it out and add it to what's going on here. If she's taken her exam online, it may not tell her what exam she had, but that's okay. I can still add it to our list. Um, a lot of them don't tell you when you take it online. You don't get to see which one it was. Lots of medicine. Oh, medicine is the worst section ever. So I'm still on exam B. So which of the cells produce hormones that regulate sugar? In the study guidebook, which are hormones are insulin and glucagon. So be sure you know those. Which chemicals relay and amplify and send signals between neurons to other cells? Be sure you know what neurotransmitters are. They're the endogenous chemical which amplify and send signals to cells. Be sure you know what OIG document is and that it needs to be reviewed every upcoming year. I put some information here about OIG. It's supposed to look for potential problem areas, and there's your OIG. This was a question from one of the AAPC exams. They asked, what document should a provider review for potential problem areas? Anytime you see those keywords right there, potential problem areas, you know you're going to be in the OIG work plan. Okay. Then we've got more urine information. Urine is transported from the kidneys to the urinary bladder by which structure? It's in the guidebook, so I went and looked, and that is the ureters are the tubes, and they're smooth muscle fibers that propel urine from the kidneys to the bladder. And let's see, we had some CPT code guideline information about this code 80053, which is basic and comprehensive codes cannot be coded together since they are included in some test. So this test question happened to be about the comprehensive and the basic metabolic panel in the back here. We're going to go to lab and path. Ooh, that was just a mess. 80053 is comprehensive, and your basic. You cannot code those two together. If your order says, which many physicians still have a habit of ordering a comprehensive and a basic metabolic panel at the same time, what you have to do is you order the comprehensive and then you order just the calcium ionized, which is the 82330 code. That's the only code that is different in these two that the basic has that the comprehensive doesn't. It does have a calcium, but it's a total. The only one it's missing is the ionized. So you would order with this one, that one, if you're been told to order the basic and the metabolic and the comprehensive, I mean. All right. continuing on with exam B, we have, let's see, which book holds the temporary national codes? That's all you'll get in your test question, and that is your HipPix book. And there was some miscarriage codes questions about it, and she had her remembering that there was an SO99 code, and the medically induced abortion by oral ingestion, you know, that's the 48-hour pill. And then we've got our CPT right here being used to report a spontaneous abortion. Be sure you know what the word right there, ACROTMIN, is. It's part of your shoulders. Be sure you know the 3 bones for your shoulders. We had a CLIA question about the laboratory requirements for CLIA. Be sure you know what it is and why is it there. It's for all laboratories performing on human specimens. They have to make sure that they understand and are providing diagnosis, prevention, and treatment and assessments for health, along with their self-reporting. They have to make sure that they're reporting their results back to the owners of the specimens. You know, they have to make sure they're doing that. Anytime that they're dealing with those kinds of stuff. There was a fraudulent question pertaining to Medicare. And I think, am I on exam C yet? Yes. This is going to be part of exam C from the CLIA question on. Because I need to finish updating the information with these. We definitely had our eye question about removing the eye tear duct right there. That's the removal of the tear duct. We had modifier E2. Be sure you know that the eyes have E1 and E2 is the upper and lower eyelid of one eye. E3 and E4 are the upper and lower eyelids of the other eye. And she had 2 CPT codes, the 67916 and the 67923. The 3 parts of the shoulder, the part of the eye that is transparent, which is your aqueous humerus, for sure. Yep, those look familiar. Good. I think I need to erase this some. They got it a little too small for you, or I zoomed in on it. Did I zoom in on it? Yeah, I did. That's what happened. I'm like, I can't raise it anymore. There we go. Something about the parts of the opening of the vagina. We have figured out that the cervix OS, the cervical OS, we have one, the internal one is the opening of the uterus. Then the external one, cervical OS, is the opening of the vagina. So be sure you know the differences between the internal and the external. Be sure you know what a colposcopy is. And we've got the pharynx again. Be sure you know what the prone position means. They use the sleep study of the 95860. They had hypomelanosis. They had a nursing facility code of 15570, 15570. There was no moss on that test for exam C. Be sure you know what IVC means. I think we figured out it was IVC instead of IVA. Be sure you know what the abnormal MYRINGOTOMY means. The modifier TC for technical component. It's mostly used for radiology. So if it's in the back or in the medicine section where they're doing some of those EKGs and specialty tests back there in the back, or radiology, that's where you're going to use your TC code. The E&M codes and other things are going to use the other code for an added procedure code for integumentary or E&M when you're doing a well child check and seeing them for a skin tag removal or something like that, where you add another E&M code with the visit. Be sure you know what 91132 is referring to. What does type 1 diabetes mean? Group home, Medicare coverage, something about how many days, 30 days. That's probably a post-op. Did we change the... Heard the psycho information or the soundtrack in the background. Was wondering where that came from. We have most minor surgeries post-op is 10 days, and then we've got our 6 weeks to 8 weeks for OB. Be sure you know some of that. And what regulates waste? The gallbladder. It stores bile. Be sure you know what the pineal gland is for. We've got HIPPIX A0225, CPT code 80305 and 45, and then the GM modifier. These are for exam C. I need to get more information like I did these with the examples finished, and I will do that. I've just been working away on our E&M section for 2022. That is coming along. Where am I at? Is it here? That's coming along crazy. Y'all, I am almost done with these. I have the E&M codes here in the middle, and then I'll have examples for each one of them. You're going to get examples for every single code. I'm trying my best to. Also, tips that go along with it that are needed. It's going to be about on either side of it. You're going to get just the information that you need to highlight on each one, like detailed, moderate. The pink ones are still going to be the ones that were on my CPC exam or somebody else that I'm helped. But you're going to get just the information that you need to highlight, like the time, the 2 of 3. You're going to get examples of questions that are related with the answer highlighted in the other color. More examples with them just coded. And then lots of other information like abbreviations, vocabularies, AKA terms, more examples, more coding examples along the way. I've got it all typed out, the whole section for E&M. It's typed. I'm just adding in all the information that I want y'all to have for each ones, and then I have to put in the page numbers for the out of sequences. But yeah, it's coming along really well. Really well. I'll have all the starred ones to use, all the ones that do not use, still going to have that information. And then the information that you just need to highlight is going to be listed there. And then I'll have on either side of the Word document all the examples of coding and how to code it. He's coming along. Some of the stuff is easier to find, or I have information on it. Some of it I have to go and keep working on, but it's coming along, adding in charts and making it easier so that you know how to code the prolonged services, critical care. They come with charts, but it's all typed and I just got to edit it. So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to have a lot more examples, and at least you won't have to read my handwriting like last year. And I have practice questions. Where am I at? That I wanted to go over with you guys for tonight. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, let's do some of these tonight and see how we do. Check the chat real quick. Yes, my notes are available on Etsy. And I already have your ICD 10 done for 2022, which even if you have the 2021 books, but you don't have the guidelines, and you're thinking about getting something, go on and get the 2022 because it has way more examples than my notes from 2021 do. It's all typed. You don't have to worry about reading my handwriting. And it even has just tons of information that my 2021 didn't, because that was the very first section I tried to do for you guys. And shoot, it's a lot of information. Where is... My Etsy is Medical Coding by Jen, right there. If you need anything, let me know. There's a coupon in my link in bio on Etsy for, I think 20% off, but you can't see it until I get off the live, and then you click on my picture, and then you can see the coupon. There's also Medical Coding by Jen, my website. It's free. I don't collect your information and sell it to nobody. So even if you do join, there are 2 programs there. That's what they call them. But they're just screenshots of the books. And it shows you how to make your notes just like mine, page by page, how to fix your CPT book, all for free. So you can go there for that. In the middle of that page, even on the front page, without even signing up for it, if you scroll down, there's a free E&M quiz there on the front. It's very hard, so don't feel bad if you don't get all the questions right. But there's 10 questions. It'll grade it for you right then and there, and you don't even have to click into the site. You can also schedule tutoring with me one-on-one. And if you have not passed the CPC exam, and you want to send me your scores, and I can look over your scores, see what sections you are the lowest on, then we can go and do tutoring one-on-one. It's $27 an hour, and we'll go over your low sections. I'll have you practice questions with me, and I'll make sure your books are up to date and your information for the low sections that you're at, and give you tips on how to fix that area. My TikTok lives that you're in right now, I'll get reposted if TikTok records them on YouTube, which is Coding by Jen right there. So all my old ones are there. You can go back and listen to me rattle along for hours and on end there and give out tips. Messenger, we have a chat study group there that we talk in every day, and I help query people. I ask questions. I find AAPC old exams or current questions from them, and I'll ask and see if anybody can answer them. You can practice questions in there live with me during the day. I share all my, like I said, I had this one-sheeter sepsis guideline information. All my one-sheeters are shared in there. You can come and get all that information for free. I'm happy to mentor in there for free all day long, whatever you need. You just need to find me on Messenger at Jen Brewer. Message me, let me know you want to join, and then I'll put you in the group. And that's about it. Let me see if I can find my little one-sheeter real quick. I have... Let's see. There's what the guidelines are going to look like for the 2022. So the guideline will be on half the page. It'll still have everything highlighted that you need to highlight for your own guidelines. But then over here, it's going to give you examples of how to code each guideline that's over there, what it would look like. And there's even screenshots of the book of what it looks like, because sometimes that's really hard to visualize, because it'll say here in this side of the book you're gonna go, it's just weird when you're not in the book looking at it. So I even did screenshots of what page they're looking at and how it looks for you, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, here, let me see. Is this it? Yep. Here's my one-sheeters that I gave out. I've got sepsis. I've got the sequel, the HIPAA rules, more HIPAA rules, the cancer one, and we've got, is that the surgery one? Yeah, how many days if they have a heart attack? Are they current heart attack? When do you give them the history of heart attack diagnosis? So that's an interesting guideline that always usually gets forgotten about. But that's some of the information that I share in the groups. Let's get started on our practice of elimination here. Thanks, Ness. Hey, Shell. If you're in our chat group, so this is our chat group and what it looks like to you that are in it already. There's this little eye icon at the top. If you'll click that, then you'll go here and go to view photos. You can scroll through all the photos that I've shared before, and you can find my information about my one-sheeters. They're back here somewhere. They're all shared. And then when you click on one that you like, you can either screenshot it or download it. I think there's an icon down here somewhere, right here, that'll say that you can save to your phone. So all the information is there that I've shared, hopefully. Look at this list. These is a list of all the CPT codes that somebody shared with me to tell me what was on their CPC exam. I should add that to our exam A, B, and C list. But yeah, there's some good information here for sure. All right, process of elimination. Let's learn how to get these questions done quickly. Less than 90 seconds, so you have time for review and to take a potty break if you need to during the middle of these exams, because 5 hours and 40 minutes is a long time. think I have. So I think I did this one on TikTok today. So, of course, y'all know, for the process of elimination, we go through here and look at these numbers just numerically, not like they're CPT codes that we're looking to see how you would code them. We're just looking at them number-wise. So this one, 85, just looks so weird. It's not anywhere numerically close to these, which are just one code away from each other. So that's why we're going to keep these, and we're going to not think about A right now. We're going to get rid of it. So we're going to run to these codes and see what they're all about. We're under the header of initial hospital care. So we've got easy one, middle one, and then super difficult, high complexity hospital stay, right? And that's all we've got. I just made a big old mark around here. There we go. So we're just going to skim our question. We are not going to read it from the very first word down. We're going to go from the last word, and we're going to go in reverse, and we're just going to look for key terms that we've practicing on, making sure we know. What we would be looking for is either the word high or our time, which is 70 minutes. We know all these E&Ms are done that way. They're either coded by their, most of the time, the medical decision making and or their time now. So we need to make sure we have those sort of highlighted in our little head. We know we're looking for high, low, or moderate. This one we do have a time right away at 70 minutes, which matches with our time for our high area, which is 70 minutes. So we can confidently, for sure, pick C and move on with our next test question. Not hard with that one at all. We do not need to read all that test question. If you read it from the beginning to the end, you're going to get confused for sure on those, especially as they get harder. All right, this one, process of elimination. We know that the 993s, right? If you know a little bit about E&M, these are in those wellness exams. The 8s, is that new? And the 9s are established. One of the two. We're in that range. I like those two because they're super close together. They're way closer than the 51 and the 11 for sure. So these two would be outliers for me, and I would run straight to these codes, which are back here. Established is in the 9s, and I mean the second to the last code is always a 9, and then new patients, the second to the last code is always an 8. So we just need to know if this is a new patient or an established, right? So we're gonna search and see if we see anything. Her last encounter was 1 year ago, so she's established, right? So for established, we are going to make sure we keep the 9s, right? That's all we needed to do. So we know A is our answer, and we can move on to our next test question. The less you read, the less words you have to carry with you from one question to another, and by the time you get to question 100 of 150, you might have less brain fatigue too. So try not to read these questions. Try to go straight for the answer right away. Evaluate it numerically to see what is super close, what is far away. We're going to say that 02 is far away, and so is that 19, right? We like our 31 and we like our 35 because they're super close. Then we're going to go run to those codes. 99231. Where is that? 99231. is under the heading of subsequent hospital care. 35 is under the heading of observation. So all I need to know is my two headers. I don't need to know anything about the individual codes themselves. Subsequent and observation. Love it when they're under two different headers, because then I just only have to worry about key terms for just the header, right? And yes, my pages are all written up, but I like to put clinical examples down for how to code. At least 2 codes per page. Also, the pink ones that are highlighted in my notes were the ones that were used on my CPC exam. So I think that's helpful. And then I put clinical examples down for those. Back to our question. We're looking for key terms that mean subsequent or observation. So we're going to go back to our question. We're going to look from the last word back, and we're going to see she was sent in for observation. Observation was our 35 code. So we know that we are going to keep it at D. D is our answer, and we'll move on. Here's our next one. We can get rid of 04 and 21, right? Because we've got the 43 and the 44 that are super alike. Let's go run to those codes and see what they are. 44 and 43 are under the same header, so we do need to know the differences. They're both moderate decision making. So what else is different? One of them is 45 minutes and one of them is 60 minutes. We'll go look at our test question and see if we can't find a time. We do see a time for 40 minutes. Our only options are 43 and 40. I know 43 said 45 minutes, but since this is our only option that's close enough, we are going with C. And C happens to be the correct answer from AAPC, so we will rock it on and move on. Our next one. Which 2 we're going to keep, guys? Y'all get to do this one. Hey, Ange. Good job. I know you meant A and B, right? We can get rid of C and we can get rid of D. We're going to keep A and B. We're going to go see what the differences are. They're under the same heading of ER. One of them's low, one of them's moderate. Time-wise, do we have time listed on these? Some of the ERs don't have time because it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's go see. We've got low complexity popping up at me as soon as we go, so we are going to go with which answer? Which one you got, Ange? I got some anesthesia after this too. Yep. B is it, which is right there. Hey, Blue Eyes. Which 2 are we going to keep here? Yep, perfect coupon. Perfect, Ange. All right, new question. Which two are we going to keep right here? Can y'all see it? Which two are the closest? Chloe, you need to go see Grandma. You need to go see Grandma. It's Chloe. Mm-hmm. Sleepyhead? James. Sorry. Yep, we're going to keep C and D. So we'll get rid of 41 and 24 for sure. We'll go look at these two codes. 07 is under nursing facility and 08 is under nursing facility. The differences are low and straightforward. We also have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So we'll skim our question. What would you say on this one? She's in a nursing facility recovering from pneumonia. She's responded well for treatment, no complications. Is that straightforward or low complexity? What do you think, guys? Hey, Shell. How's it going? What would you guys do during the exam? You're not given a time and you're not giving your MDM. So how are you going to know if this is straightforward or if this is low? Keep on Cuties put in her answer. Good, Ange. She's got one in too. I think so too. Straightforward sounds good to me. There was no decision making like a low complexity. This wasn't complex, right? They didn't make any decisions. They just kept her on her course and she's responding well. So I think straightforward is a perfectly reasonable answer. Absolutely. We'll go with C. Yep, C is the answer. Good job. You might run into some of those questions. They might not tell you what the MDM is, and they're not going to have any time. So you need to decide at your discretion what the billable code is. And that's part of what a CPC really is being able to use their own judgment based on the medical records. And that does make coding subjective. What you see in a record might not be the same as another coder seeing a record. So that's why I don't like coding, but that's part of the job, and I know you guys are up for it. Usually the CPC exam isn't that vague, but this is one of their questions. So I like the question. Here's another one. What do you think are the keepers? We got 10 of you watching, so let's see. Come on, see if you can get it. Which 2 answers are we keeping? So we're going to get rid of B and D. All right, let's go run to these codes and see what 33 and 36 are. So we've got 33, if that's even a code anymore, 33 and 36. Subsequent hospital visit. Subsequent hospital visit. Oh, I think that's gotta be a typo then. If wait a minute. Subsequent hospital visit. Where are we supposed to be at? Emergency room. Two, 3, there we are. 233 and 236. Two, 3 is subsequent because we got to look at our headers, and 99236 is under observation. So we've got another observation and another subsequent answer here. So we just need to skim our answer to see if we're under subsequent or observation. And we actually see the term subsequent right there. So we know we're going to do A. They actually gave it away right there with that one. They really like to use different terms in the real exam when you're taking the AAPC exam. I hate that sometimes their practice exam questions are that leading or easy, and I know it makes my process of elimination look super easy, but when you get down to the exam, their exam questions are more wordy. It'll say like, Dr. so-and-so went to see a patient who was admitted yesterday or 2 days ago, and for an esophageal neoplasm who began to split up blood and metastasized as expected. That's how they'll word it during the exam. They're not just going to bust out with a subsequent hospital visit. They're going to put it in here, Mr. So-and-so went to go see a patient who's 58 years old, who was admitted 2 days ago for a neoplasm and was spitting up blood. They're going to have it way differently worded, and it's not going to have that easy of a term. So be sure to know your AKAs for sure, guys, that mean subsequent. Was admitted 2 days ago, something like that. Anything that refers to the patient's been there for a couple of days in the hospital, or even since the day before, or something that was, just a subsequent visit. So it's not going to be as obvious as this darn question is. I wish it was that easy too, man. I mean, that's just boo hiss. I copied these. I haven't audited the questions yet to see how they rank, but these are way easy for this this practice exam questions. Yeah, these are like giveaways. I'm like, really, AAPC? The exam is not going to be like that. It's going to be way vaguer. So be prepared for that. Get out of the thesaurus, I can't say that one, and look up different terms for subsequent and put those near this heading, you know. Different phrases. You can even Google different phrases that mean subsequent visit, and you can get different phrases to pop up. Yeah. That would be really cool to add to my E&M notes too. Ooh, I'm just thinking of all kinds of things to add to those. I'm never going to get done with them because I'm going to add so much stuff to them. But I will eventually have to stop and say, okay, they're ready. All right, let's try this one. Which two are we keeping? Or three? I think well, they're all pretty good. 21, 31, 41, and 51. I think, yeah, they're all twos. Yeah. We got to keep them all, and we just got to start at the top and work our way down, right? 99221 is under what section? Because they're going to be broken up. We've got observation for 221, maybe. Don't know. 31, 221, no, 221 is under initial hospital care. 31 is under subsequent. Oh, Lord. 41 is going to be under office consultation. 51 is going to be under inpatient consultation. Lots to remember there, guys. Too much to remember. I heard 2 consultations, so that's going to make me think that it's one of those. That was like the 41. Is it the 41? 41 was under consultation, and then what was another one that was consultation? Was it 31? Hospital care, initial hospital care, in the hospital. I don't know. All right. Well, let me check. This one is a inpatient follow-up consultation. So is that 21? 21 is initial hospital care, so no way on that one. Whoops. 21 is under initial. 41 was under office consultation. It's not going to be office, right? 51 was under inpatient consultation. What about 31? Where was 31? 31 was under subsequent hospital care. Ooh. It's between those two. What would you do? This is inpatient follow-up consultation. Is that subsequent hospital care? Or is that 51 for inpatient consultation? What you saying, Shell? What do you think on this one? What about you, Shell? Mm-hmm. 31 subsequent hospital care, or 51 under inpatient consultation. And here's your question. It just says inpatient follow-up consultation. The answer is D, guys. It's 31. Oh, it's because she already had her consultation. And this was not an inpatient consultation. Trying to think of a way to right here. Here's your information on inpatient consultations. They can only be reported by the consultant, by the physician, once per admission. Subsequent services on the same admission need to go back to these codes right there. So, ouch. Everybody got that one wrong, but it's good that we went over this one because it will be beneficial for you getting that E&M question, right here, right. So when your test question says inpatient follow-up consultation, you are absolutely going to know that you are not going to be using these inpatient consultations. You are going back to your subsequent hospital care and you are using these. You are going to be in the know. You are going to know this 100% next time. You're going to make notes on that inpatient consultation. You're going to move your guideline to your codes, and you're going to know that D is your right answer for this one. Finally found a good tricky one and not some easy one, right? You can place this example, like a little bit of this test question. Just put inpatient follow-up consultation right underneath this heading. Inpatient follow-up consultation. Star it, but just put it right there. Then you'll have it. You'll know that these are inpatient follow-up. And then when you go over here to inpatient consultations, get you a red marker and do you a red no inpatient follow-up consultation. Just put that in there. Inpatient follow-up consult. So you mark it in two places, no here, and then you can put a positive here, positive inpatient follow-up consult. We got it. That's going to bring up some E&M grades. Yep. No, it had nothing to do with reading any of that. Drop after surgery? No, don't read any of that question. That ain't got nothing to do with coding and E&M. His foot ain't got nothing to do with coding this. Not a thing. None of that is going to help you in coding that E&M. The only thing that is relatable for this question, for coding, the E&M is just those words. That's it. Inpatient follow-up consultation. And it's based off the guidelines that you find underneath inpatient consultations. These are your guidelines, just like ICD-10 has those guidelines in the front of the book. All this written information in the beginning of these sections is what is your guideline for coding this, but also for coding your subsequent hospital visits. So it's all scattered about, because if you go to subsequent, they don't tell you any guidelines before you code them, how to code them. They've moved that over here, which is a pain. So, muy important. The only consultations to be reported is once per admission. Subsequent services, same admission, are to be those. That's a guideline for these codes. Over here, I hate how they have all this organized. But dropping a leg isn't going to help you code the E&M. Didn't even notice, don't even need to read that. We got some anesthesia. We've got 3 P3s, so I really like the P3s. They're also almost all the same anesthesia code. Then there's our tricky one that is if they're over 70, you use this code, or under 1 year old, use this code, but only if it's not already in the description for the CPT code noting an age. Which is a pain. So just to be on the safe side, if this wasn't a CPC exam question, I'd go to that 00790 and see and make sure there wasn't an age in there. If there is an age, then I would leave that number out. And then if there is not an age, then I know I'm going to need to use it. 00790 is right here. Do we have any age listed? We do not have an age listed in that description in the core code. And what I mean by age is usually, let me show you. Let's see right here where it would say age 1 year or older. If it said 1 year and younger, then we would not use it. Younger than 1 year of age. This code right here, we would not add that, even though our guideline is to add it if they're under 1 year of age. We add that code, but we actually don't if the wording in the description actually says the age. Then you don't use that code. This one that we're referring to today, 00790, there is no age listed. We check our question. Yep, 92 years old. We know we're going to need that code. And that eliminates this one and this one, right? We can only use the codes that have these two, right? Just to note the differences between these, we've got a P3, which usually means that the patient is super sick, and we do see a word that can match with severe. The only two words we needed was the 92 and the word severe disease here. And you can code off just those two. I don't need to know no other information to know that our answer is going to be C for this one. Okay? Y'all are going to do the next one. So all we need to know on these is if we're going to use P2 or P4, or I'm sorry, 6.2 or 6.4, and whether we're going to use a P1 or not. So let's go to 1, 1, oops, 1, 1, no, 0, 1, right? 0, 1, 4, 6, 2, and 6, 4. This one's a closed procedure of the lower leg, and this one's one for arthroscopic of the ankle. So we'll just check our question real quick. So what's the answer, guys? Here's your key terms. Match me up. Which one are we doing? A, B, C, or D? What are you doing back in here? You're supposed to be in there with Grandma. Get that girl. Get that girl. Yep. Y'all got it. A is the right answer on this one for sure. Let's see. I got another one. This one's going to be hopefully tougher. Let's see. There we go. What are we keeping? What are we throwing away? Looks like we need to go look up at least two numbers, the 30 and the 32, right? So 008, 008, 30, and 32. So those are anesthesia, of course, for hernia. And they're two different locations of the hernias. So we need to look up key terms like ventral or incisional hernia to know the difference. Here's our test question. All we see is inguinal hernia. I don't see those other two words in 32 to match. There's nothing about incisional or ventral. So I would just pick the generic anesthesia one for 30. So I know I'm going to get rid of C and I'm going to get rid of A. Which one of these two am I keeping based off here? Inguinal. We've got a CRNA. We've got without supervision as our key terms. D. D is correct. Good job. Hey Casey, how's it going? I don't know if you've been here all day, but it's good to see you again. All right, let's go check these out. Another one that we're going to have to check out too. So let's check out the 30 and the 34 and see which one we can eliminate. So 005, 30, and 34. 30 is permanent transverse venous pacemaker. 34 is replacement. Permanent or replacement, I think. So let's check our key terms to see if we see anything that says replacement. I believe we do. We have replacement up there. There we go. Replacement. So replacement is the 34, so we can get rid of 30. Which one are we going to keep? The P3. We see what? That severe word they love to pick on. Be sure you know your AKAs for severe. Okay, because AAPC is not going to be that nice every time. Yep. C is going to be your term. For sure. That is it. All I've got for tonight. Unless y'all have any questions or want to see some more of the coloring I did or any pages in my books. P4. They're all listed right here on page 73. So they're really not hard to find, especially during your exam. This patient would probably be in a coma, like super bad. P5 means you're just, knocking on death's door. I mean, really bad. And then they're just harvesting organs at this point at P6. But P3, they even have the word severe in the description, and you see how the AAPC's practice questions use the word severe. They're not going to be that gentle during this AAPC exam. So find you some AKA terms for severe. Life-threatening means that dialysis has failed. They're going to be getting a lung and a kidney transplant at the same time. I mean, they got some crap going on if they're getting a 4. Really major stuff. P5, they're not expected to live. We're trying to patch them together, but we're not putting any hope into it at all. This one has to be pretty major. Multi-organ failure. You're going to have like 2 systems breaking down, not just a simple kidney transplant or something. You're going to have like bilateral lungs and a kidney. It's going to be pretty major right there to use 4. Not that 3 is bad enough, but that's like a kidney transplant, something like that. Liver transplant would go under P3 for sure. My MRI shows a crushing injury to these fingers, so I crushed those fingers when I fell, and look how much bending I got back into them now. They were straight. So I have to go, that's as far as I can go right now. It's not crushing syndrome, it's a crushing injury. So they're still swollen. They're super shiny and not wrinkly like the rest of my skin because they're still puffed out. And this happened in July for these 2. And I crushed that one and crushed that one and crushed that one. No bones are broken. No tendons are snapped. So that's good. But just a crushing injury. And the crushing, unfortunately, takes a really long time to heal. I still have edema in the joints that won't leave. If I could get the water out of there, I could bend those joints, but dang. So it's physical therapy. It's physical therapy. Oh, that hurts to bend, but I have to push against myself and then push downward. Yeah. But I go tomorrow to see the ortho doctor to follow up on the MRI because I just read it myself and this is my own diagnosis. So I've been in ortho a long time. I did ortho as one of the first things I did in medicine 20 years ago. So I know what the MRI says, but she'll just give me a referral to do physical therapy, which I already got my squishy ball and I've been working on it, but man, that hurts. I never heard of something crushing something and making it craptastic for so long, but yeah, they are crushed and there's still swelling and edema in there, so makes them two fingers look a lot younger than the other ones. I just wish they would work, but yeah, just needs lots of time. But I go back tomorrow for the referral for physical therapy. I'll go to physical therapy once, see if they got any new information that I don't know, because medicine's gone a long way. Maybe ask for some red light therapy to get rid of some of the edema that's in the joint, maybe, or something. I don't know. But if I can just get rid of the edema, make sure my physical therapy is up to date, because it's been a long time since I've been in the office. I've been remote for 8 years, so I want to make sure. And then I can do physical therapy on my own, pretty sure, without having to travel and do all that. But we'll eventually get them back to work, and it's just going to take some time. Thank you for asking. So sweet. Y'all got exams coming up. Y'all ain't got to be worried about me. But I really appreciate it. That's really sweet. Is there anything in these books I can help y'all with before we let off for the night? We got 10 more minutes. Soak them, yeah, Epsom salt, yep. And they have this stuff now. It's like naproxen in a cream you put on your fingers or something for arthritis, I guess, but I don't know. You just rub it in, and then I can squeeze on my ball harder than I would normally, you know, so that I can get more range of motion if I can get them numbed up enough to just bend them and get some of that water out of there. Yeah. Yeah. You leave it on, and then I don't have any joint pain. I just can't physically freaking bend that. Oh my gosh. But I can get more range of motion when I do that. So, yeah. If you actually have arthritis, that stuff's, I guess it's pretty good, because I can get more. It's the only way I've been able to get some more range of motion and push them further than they want to be is some of this topical stuff, whatever it is. They do have prescription strength, and the ortho doctor said she was going to send me a prescription, but she never did. I'll remind her tomorrow. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. The crushing injury made the injury bad for some reason. I guess it's like you've seen people have, especially toddlers, they get stuff pulled over on top of them all the time, and the crushing chest injuries are real worrisome. Pretty crazy stuff. What a crushing injury does, and unfortunately it's just a lot of really bad physical therapy that has to go in on it, and there's actually nothing you can do about it. Where is they used to have this thing on the side. I don't want to pre-register. I want to go here, yep, and then I want to go to reports, and then yeah. A little bit of a, where did it say? Right here. They it's really neat where they talk about the 4th and 5th digits. So be sure you know your digits for your trigger finger injections. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. And then they talk about proximal joint, the vulvar, subcutaneous space, and the distal aspect of the fifth pharynx, to prominent findings involving the fourth lesser extent third digital flexor tendon as well, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. This is called the PIP joint right here. Your last joint right here is PIP. This is your distal area. This is the middle part of your finger, if they noted anything here, middle. This is the proximal area. So proximal has lots of edema or whatever, and then this space, the middle. So as you're working through trying to code something, it's not I don't have an autoimmune disease, because all my fingers would be swollen like this if it was. So it's just the two. And look how they coded my I've only always gone in and said, I hurt these two fingers. I fell in a parking lot on my cell phone and hurt these two fingers. But the actual diagnosis that they sent over, such a pain in the injury. Look at this. Injury to the left wrist. Oops. Hand. What kind of craptastic diagnosis coding is that right there? There's no injury to my wrist ever. I know better than fall on my wrist or my hand. I broke this wrist twice as a child, but that is not. So then this doctor had to look at my MRI looking for my whole wrist and hand injury, when my injury is just related to the fourth and fifth digits. I know there's got to be an injury code relatable to the fourth and fifth digit, right? Oh, kids are getting antsy. But yeah, I thought that was terrible. I'm like, really? Who coded this? Interpharyngeal joint, distal interpharyngeal. This is the PIP. This is the DIP right there. So yeah, my wrist is not, I did not fall on my wrist at all. It was never injured at all. I have little bitty tiny wrist. It would be very bad if I fell on my wrist, but I got big old massive hands. So yeah, no, I fall right where I was supposed to, but I fell with this cell phone, my flippy phone, in my hand, just like this, because I had the back poppy thing on. And when I fell, the last two digits were crushed by the edge of my phone right there, just at those joints. That's what I fell and hit on. I've never said anything about no hand injury or wrist. I mean, that just impedes the doctor who goes forward. Sloppy coding, for sure. It's like putting something you remember down, you know. Anyway. Yeah, that's it. And see, it said correlate with clinical trauma, because we have no idea. Perhaps it's a crushing injury. We don't know. It's not really an overuse thing or an autoimmune thing, but he was like left with no information on what was going on with me, and he's trying to read this MRI. That's his heart or her heart, whoever. Anyway, crappy coding. That's the good thing about us being in medicine. We can always go back and look at other people's work and, you know, evaluate it and see the flaws in it afterwards, for sure. I don't know why it says a wrist coat. That's just crappy coding, because I've never went in for wrist pain at all for any reason. You have the right to make them change your medical history too, so I could go in there and make them change it and code it properly if I really wanted to or cared, but you know, it's all right. Is there anything I can do for you guys? Anything y'all want to look at in the book? Before we go, we got a couple of minutes. Somebody asked about looking at my cardiology picture recently. I think it was Shell, maybe, I'm not sure. This one, because it actually coordinates with one in the back of the medicine section. And I forgot to state that in my notes to you guys in my sections that are up on Etsy, that these are what this means. Don't forget about Appendix L, guys, for your exam, that y'all need to know how to do a word search for those lovely branches of the coronary artery and venous areas. Let's forget which page that's on. I always get surprised by finding it. It's going to be here with all this cardio stuff somewhere. Another page I should be typing. So I'll have more time to share more questions tomorrow while I'm waiting on ortho to see me. Just need the referral. But page 234 correlates with my notes from page 726 and 727. These numbers will tell you where in the heart or valve this is happening in, so they're labeled like that for you. So hopefully that might be a little helpful. We can go live again on Friday and Saturday this week, I believe. And may skip Sunday. We'll see. But I can go live again on Friday and Saturday this week. So hang in there, guys. Let me know suggestions, what y'all want to see in the live. Happy to make sure we get that taken care of, whatever y'all want or need. And I'm going to keep working on my guidelines and for the E&M section and get those out. Shell, you and I got to coordinate so I can get you the updated version of these guidelines so that you have the 22 version versus the 21 version that you paid for. Yeah, go over some more guidelines, our top 10. My 2022 guidelines that I have posted already up on Etsy have a top 10 guideline list on the last page for which guidelines to know for the CPC exam. But I can bring that out for Friday's live and we can go over that for sure. All right, Shell, I'll talk to you as soon as I end this live, and I'll fix that price for you so we can get those over to you. All right, guys, I'll see y'all Friday. What about vaccines? Yeah, it's separate from the medication section because I typed that section out for the immunizations, and then the medicine section was just going to be way too long to type the whole thing. And I know immunizations. I was a peds nurse for a long time, so I liked immunization, so I did that section separate from the whole medicine section. But the rest of the medicine section, all the way through the cardiology and all that stuff, is all in the medicine section. It just starts with psychology. The immunizations is its own little section all by itself because I hand typed it just the way it was. And the medicine section ended up being way too long anyway. I don't even know if I could have fit it because of Etsy's guidelines on how much I can upload per PDF upload. They kill me with their 25 megabyte restriction per upload, and I can only upload 5 uploads per listing. So, and each one of them has to be under, which is difficult when I was taking photographs of every page of the CPT book. It will be a lot easier with me creating and typing the pages all to myself for this year. Plus, my website, Medical Coding by Jen, I believe I can upload PDFs there too, and I'm not sure if there's a file restriction, but maybe I can get one big bundle for 2022 and not have all these freaking sections separated out. That would be better too. But anyway, I got to get them completed first, and yeah, time. I need to get a clone for sure. On the proctor email, we can bring our own ICD guidelines. That means you can take your guidelines, scan them, and bring them as their own individual 33-page PDF printout if you want to. You cannot write on the back pages. They really prefer you to copy it where it's front and back guidelines. I really don't know why people print them out and bring them. I guess it's to keep underneath their bubble sheet as they're bubbling, and then if they wanted to refer to it really quick, they don't have to open up this big book and look for the guidelines. They just have a printed PDF page of loose paper, you know, like they can look through for the guidelines. But if you don't know this mess, by the time you're down to your test, you aren't going to have time to go to your, if you don't know and memorized every single page where they're at, you're not going to have time to go through here and say, okay, where is OB? Find your OB section, find out which page it's on, then go to your OB page, read all the guidelines that go along with OB, and decipher what it says relatable to your question. That just makes no sense to me. I mean, if you don't know it, then you don't know it. You got to know your sequencing, or you need to move your sequencing to the codes that it's affected, so that you have that near the CPT codes. There's just I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they do that. It baffles me, and I don't see how in the world you can get done with that in 90 seconds. That's why I like to move my guidelines to my ICD-10 codes. And so 928 is where I'd have the main section on this one. And when I move my guidelines, they're there with the codes, so that I don't have to go reverting back to any kind of sort of thing. So I have this 28-week pregnancy who had a back injury, 2 regions, and she ended up having a dysfunction for it. And how did they code it? They coded it with that code, with that code, with that one, and that one, and that one, in that order. So the first diagnosis would have been that, then this, then that. There's my guideline. It's all written out. If I have another OB with the same kind of injury that happened, whatever, it was that office visit with these diagnoses done in that order. That's how I like to do it. I don't see how printing out all those guidelines and trying to evaluate them during an exam is going to help you, because just reading one sentence of those guidelines can throw you into a crazy, what is that? Where is that? What's going on with that? What does that mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they do that. You need to already know those guidelines. You already need to have your examples and then move those guidelines to the codes that are affected. Because unless you can even just find the section that you're in for what random question they might ask you quickly, it's still going to be hard to decipher unless you know exactly what it means once you get there. Okay, yeah, I remember underdose goes here first, here, and you've worked with it and you have examples written out, but you have to find this without any tabs. So you can't, I don't know how that would help. Honestly, I have no idea why they do that, but you can print those out. I recommend printing mine out. That would be holy something. I wonder if they let you bring mine, because mine are the exact guidelines, but I have my annotations typed out beside them. That would be fun to print out and bring. Then you wouldn't have to write all that information in your own book, but part of that exercise is highlighting your guidelines yourself, even though I've done it for you, so that you're actually reading while you're highlighting, underlining while you're and reading at the same time. Plus, you're writing in the examples that I have. All that exercise will help you for sure to get to know them, get to know where they're at, and then when you put them here, then you're going to need to go through your book and put them there with those codes. You're going to need to go to those T codes for underdosing. Write that example with those. So just taking mine and having mine printed and not ever reviewed them and not knowing them isn't really going to help you either, but you need to do the work, I think, to make my notes into your notes and make them into your book, for sure. It's a lot of work, guys, but it's going to be worth it if y'all can get your remote jobs working from home. Get you an auditing certificate of some sort too, and you can move on, do even less work for more money. Auditing is so much fun. I love auditing. But I'm going to go hang out with the family, guys. Yep, helps commit to memory. Yep. All right, Shell, I'll talk to you in just a second. Let's get off this live. I will see y'all Friday, and of course I will see y'all in my chat and query y'all some more questions. Good night, y'all.